weathers, the freezer below codes, and everything that's trying to hinder the work of the Most High. Shalom, shalom. Where I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty Akwath, the sisters that are at home, reverencing their husbands, but they're being teachers of good things, tender, delicate, and on fire for the Most High God. Shalom, shalom. I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty teenagers and children in this truth as well, doing all they can to make their calling and election sure in the last days. All right. And by the topic of this cold cut is titled, Watch and Pray that ye enter not into temptation. Right? Because the spirit is willing indeed, but the flesh is weak. Right? And that's what the Lord said in Matthew chapter 26 and 41. When you read Matthew chapter 26 and 41, the Lord is going over a list of things that he's telling his disciples, man. One of the things that the Lord told his disciples is, right, watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. It says, why? Because the spirit is willing indeed, but the flesh is weak. All right, and living in these fleshly bodies, we must be praying fervently all the time, 24/7. All right, if you in this truth, you're an Israelite man or an Israelite woman, you have to be praying fervently, especially in the last days, man. Why? Because you're in the flesh. Well, first and foremost, you're in a fleshly body, which is corruptible. Spirits is all around you, right? You have demons on 1,000. Demons are increasing more and more and more in the last days. All right. You have wickedness at an all-time high. And if you're not praying, guess what? You're going to enter into temptation. Once you enter into temptation, 9 times out of 10, you not in the spirit, you're going to get tempted. You're going to be overcome. Next thing you know, you're going to sin. And sin bringeth forth death, pursuant to James chapter 1 and verse 13. So again, you must be praying fervently in the last days. If you're not praying, if you're not going hard in your prayer life, you have to immediately check yourself, man. All right, you have to check yourself if you're not praying fervently. The Most High, he's not dealing with men and women that's just lazy on their prayers. You don't pray when you get up in the morning. You only get about one prayer in before work. Or you come home from work, you don't pray at all. You're doing everything else but praying. The Most High, he's not dealing with that. And it's a reason why the Lord said that, because guess what? The spirit is willing. Your spirit wants to serve the Most High God. All right? Your spirit might want to get the kingdom of heaven right now. Your spirit wants to be on fire, but guess what? The flesh is weak, man. The flesh is going to say, this not happening right here. All right? Your flesh is ultimately going to get you destroyed. So again, you have to be praying fervently in the last days. Right? Let me get this quick precept through the spirit. Right? Let me get this quick precept through the spirit. Right? This is the book of Judges, not Judges. This is the book of Luke, chapter 18 and verse 1. All right? This is the book of Luke, chapter 18 and verse number 1. And it reads, it says, and he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men always to pray and not to faint. So the Lord said you have to always be praying, man. Praying when you going to work, praying when you come home from work, praying while you in the car, praying when you're inside your house, praying on an hour of prayer, praying before you get up in the morning, praying when you go to sleep at night. You have to always be occupied in what? In praying. The Lord doesn't want you to faint. Anytime you're praying and you start fainting, you being content with 2 or 3 prayers that you throw up. They say, I'm going to throw up some later. No, the Lord said, I would that men ought to pray always. Meaning, hey, whenever you get a chance, you should constantly be praying. And it's benefits with prayer. Prayer helps you stay in the spirit, right? you actually, after you get done praying, you have true angels that's strengthening you. Right? Let's go to that in the book of Matthew. Right? Actually, let's go to that in Luke. Right? Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter, let me see what I want. Luke chapter 22 and verse number 40. Right? This is the book of Luke chapter 22 and verse 40. And when he was at the place, he said unto them, pray that ye enter not into temptation. And he was withdrawn from about a stone's cast, and kneeled down and prayed, saying, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. And this is the Lord praying himself. The Lord got on his knees. He presented himself before the Lord. Now, what happened after Yahushua prayed? It says what? Verse 43. And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. So right after the Lord and he was throwing up prayers, you had actual angels that was strengthening the Lord. And that's likewise with us. That's why it's not a coincidence. After you get done praying, you feel that much more in the spirit. You start to feel that zeal come back. You start to be able to want to be in the precepts, want to crack up your Bible and read. Why? Because angels are strengthening you. The Lord is sending down spirits after you pray, and they'll cause you to even be more in the spirit. So guess what? Going back to Luke 18:1, it says what? I would that men always pray and not to faint. We can't be faint-hearted in our prayers, and we have to be praying fervently through the spirit. Let's go to the book of Psalms, right? Chapter 55. Right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 55 and verse number 17. Right? Salakia. This Psalms chapter 55 and verse 17, and it reads, it says, even and morning and at noon will I pray and cry aloud, and he shall hear my voice. So King David said, hey, at noon, evening, morning, I'm going to pray to you, Lord. Not only that, I'm going to cry out. When you praying, you have to be screaming out the name of the Lord, man. You have to be calling upon the name of the Most High, screaming out and hoping that he hears you. The Lord, when you're praying, you don't want to be whispering. Now, you might be in certain environments where you have to do your thing, but chiefly, you want to be screaming out the name of the Most High. Why? Because our forefathers did it. Yahushua, he did it. And we want the Lord to hear us, man. Again, the Lord, he's not hearing whisperers, men that's whispering underneath their breath. The Lord wants to see who's going to cry out, man. Who's going to scream with all their might. Who's going to smote upon their chest. Who really wants their prayers to be heard, man? Who really wants to be on fire? Who really wants to be in the spirit? David said, guess what? 3 times a day, evening, morning, and noon, will I pray unto thee. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 119. Right? Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 119. Salakia. Salakia, bear with me. Page is stuck. This Psalm, chapter 118 and verse number 62. Right? This Psalm, chapter 119 and verse 62. It says, at midnight will I rise to give thanks unto thee because of thy righteous judgments. So David, he was so on fire. Hey, it's the middle of the night. He's waking up and he's praying to the Most High God. Right? What does Jake do when he wakes up in the middle of the night? He scratches his head, right? He goes to the refrigerator in his boxers. He's scratching his chest. He's cracking his toes, right? And he's getting some orange juice out the refrigerator. Hey, David said, hey, man, if I wake up in the middle of the night, hey, I might as well just start praying to the Most High God at midnight. This is what King David was doing through the Spirit, right? Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse number I believe that's, let's see. Con. This Psalm chapter 118 and verse 164. It says, 7 times a day do I praise thee because of thy righteous judgments. So David says 7 times a day I'm praising the Most High God. And 7 could represent a number of completion. That could have been 10 prayers, 14 prayers, 20 prayers. We don't know how fervent King David was through the Spirit. So you want to ultimately make sure your prayers are being amped up. If you were praying 3 times, guess what? 3 times is not going to cut it anymore. 5 times is not going to cut it anymore. Hey, you might have been praying 7 times. 7 times a day is not going to cut it more. You have to boost that up to 9. Whatever you have to do, you want to get that spiritual burn, again, all through the prayers. And prayer is so important. Prayer is one of the most important things in this truth, man. If you're not praying, you're gonna have demons on you. You're gonna be out of the spirit. It's just facts. So to avoid that, you have to be praying fervently in the spirit. Again, whether that's that could be a plethora of times. All of these precepts should hit your mind about prayer. Let's go to the book of Acts, right? Let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 16, right? Because again, prayer is powerful. This Acts chapter 16 and verse number 25, and it reads, and at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto God, and the prisoners heard them. So Paul and Silas was praying so loud that you had actual prisoners hearing them through the Spirit. They looking down, they say, hold on, who is that saying the name of the Most High? Right? What are they calling upon? They was praying so loud the prisoners heard them. It says what? And suddenly there was a great earthquake. And it says, so that the foundations of the prisons were shaken, and immediately all the doors were open and everyone's bands were loose. So Paul and Silas prayed so fervently, you had a damn earthquake happen. Then when you read on to this chapter, the Most High sent the angel to bust them out of prison. That's what prayer could do, man. Hey, Elijah, he called down fire from heaven, man. Let's go to that in the book of Sirach. Right? Hey, Elijah, literally, in order for that to happen, he would have had to pray through the Spirit. All right, this Sirach. Let's go to Sirach. This is the book of Sirach. I believe that's chapter... This Sirach, chapter 48, and verse number 1. It says, then stood up Elias, the prophet, as fire, and his word burnt like a lamb. He brought a sore famine upon them, and by his zeal he diminished their number. So Elijah, he prayed so fervently that he actually shut up the heavens, and it was a famine throughout all the land. That's how on fire he was. It says what? Verse 3, by the word of the Lord he shut up the heaven, and also 3 times brought down fire. O Elias, how wast thou honored in thy wondrous deeds, and who made glory like unto thee? So through the Spirit, this man brought down fire 3 times. He called upon the name of the Most High, and it happened through the Spirit. That's all through prayer. And another thing on prayer, you have to be confident in your prayers. Whatever you asking, you have to believe that. You have to believe that the Most High is going to have that to be able to happen. Right? Let's go to the book of Luke. Right? Actually, let's go to the book of James. All right? This is the book of James, chapter 1 and verse number 6. It says, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think he shall receive anything of the Lord. So if you're not praying in faith, guess what? James said, hey, don't let that man think he finna get anything of the Most High. The Lord is not hearing that, man. The Lord is not hearing men that's doubting in their prayers. Elijah, when he wanted fire to come down, he wasn't wavering. He was ever sure confident that that was going to happen. When Yahushua was praying to the Most High God, guess what? He really believed that what he was praying through the Spirit. Because it says, what? Reading on verse 7, it says, let that man think that it says, let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So if you're not praying fervently and being confident in your prayers, you're not going to receive anything of the Most High God. And it's so many aspects of prayer, right? Time will literally fail us, man. But let's go to Mark 1:35. All right. Let's go to the book of Mark, chapter 1 and verse number 35. So again, for the people tuning in, you have to be praying fervently in these last days that you don't enter into temptation. Because what? The spirit is willing indeed, but the flesh is weak. Let's go to Mark chapter 1 and verse number 35. This Mark chapter 1 and 35. And in the morning, rising up a great while before day, he went out, talking about Yahushua, and departed into a solitary place and there prayed. So it's been times when you read the Gospels, Yahushua just had to duck off somewhere and go pray. That might be you. You might be at your job. It's nothing but lewdness around you, wickedness. You might have to duck off to the bathroom and go up and throw up some prayers to the Most High God. You might be at the store. You might be walking in Walmart. It's the hour of prayer. You have to drop everything. You have to go to the bathroom in Walmart, and you have to pray to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. I mean, it's literally, you have to be praying everywhere. And on a drop of a dime, you have to be ready to be praying. Let's go to that in 1 Timothy chapter 2. All right, let's go to 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter. Right, it's the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 2, and verse number 8. Right, it's the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 2, and verse number 8, and it reads, it says, I will therefore that men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands without wrath and doubting. So Paul said, guess what? I would that men pray everywhere. You have to be willing to pray everywhere, man, through the Spirit. And everywhere could be literally everywhere. You might be out with your friends, with your brothers, your Akims, right? You might be at Walmart, and you might be on an airplane. Guess what? You have to be willing to throw prayers up. You could be 30,000, you could be 10,000 feet underneath the sea in a submarine. You still have to pray to the Most High. There's literally no time limit for how many prayers you throw up. It doesn't matter where you're at. This is what prayer is, man. And the power in the Spirit is going to cause you to be in the Spirit so you could be able to maneuver through this evil and this lustful world. Right, let's go to the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 7 and verse number 3. Right, let's go to 2 Chronicles, chapter 7 and verse number 3. Right, this is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 7 and 3. And it reads, it says, and when all the children of Israel saw how that fire came down and the glory of the Lord upon the house, they bowed themselves with their faces toward the ground upon the pavement and worshiped and praised the Lord, saying, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. And sometimes when you pray, guess what? It could literally just be thanking the Most High God. You don't have to always ask for anything. You could just say, hey, all praise the water Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Right? Right? The brother Larry put a good precept. We was going to go to that next through the Spirit in 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter. So again, you could just be thanking him, the water Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, for your mercy is good, right? endureth, and for you are good, and your mercy endureth forever. Amen. You could throw that up 10 times and be in the spirit with a plethora of other prayers. So all of the times you praying, it doesn't have to be necessarily asking for anything. You could just be praising and worshiping the Most High God just in general. When you read Revelations, let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 4, right? When you read Revelations, you literally have the 4 beasts praising the Most High 24/7. They're literally just thanking the Lord 24/7. They never stop, right? So we have to be like that through the Spirit on the earth. Let's go to the book of Revelations, chapter 4. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 4, and verse number 8, right? Revelation chapter 4 and verse number 8. And the 4 beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within, and they rest not day and night, saying, so these angels, they don't get no rest, man. We have to be the same way in prayer. You can't get tired of praying. You can't get tired of thanking the Most High God. You can't say, well, my back is hurting. I just got off from work. I had a long day. We cannot be slothful in prayers. These angels, they rest neither day nor night. It says what? Saying, holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is and to come. And when those beasts give glory and honor and thanks to him that sat on the throne, who liveth forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him that sat on the throne and worship him that liveth forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, so right after the 4 beasts, guess what? You had the 24 angels. They get down and start praising the Lord. It don't stop, man. This thing never stops. The Most High has praise that's due unto his name. We have to get that up. What's ways we could get that up? Through fasting, through reading, magnifying his name, going out teaching. Women having righteous works, giving alms, charity, helping out the ministry in any way possible. Another way is praying, right? Praying in the Hebrew tongue. Let's go to Psalms chapter 29. All right, let's go to the book of Psalms chapter 29. Right, it's the book of Psalms chapter 29 and verse 2. Psalms 29 and 2. It says, give unto the Lord the glory due unto his name. Worship the Lord in the beauty of his holiness. So it says, give unto the Lord the glory due unto his name. Because the Lord has glory. He's the Most High. He has glory already due unto his name. And you have to pay up. If you're not paying up that glory, the Most High, he's going to require it out of you. He's going to say, what is going on? I need my respect. I need my honor. I need my glory. And he's the Lord of hosts. He created everything through the Spirit. So you have to pay up, man. You could pay up with thanksgiving. All right, we don't have burnt offerings anymore. We're not offering up peace offerings, Thanksgiving, free will offerings. We're not offering that up. We're offering up spiritual sacrifices with our lips, praising him, magnifying his name. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. All right, let's go to 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter. This 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse number 18. I'm going to start at verse 17. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 17. Pray without ceasing. I'm going to read that again. Pray without ceasing. So that's a commandment. You have to pray without ceasing. Now you have certain men, they say, well, hold on. 1 Thessalonians 5, hold on. That's not a law. That's not in the commandments. That's not in the first 5 books. Well, all right, brother. Go without praying without ceasing if you want to. Demons, they're going to start attacking you. Spirits going to start hopping on you. They're going to overcome you. And you're going to be sinning against the Most High God. And the Most High could put you to death because now you're in sin. All through not praying without ceasing. So it says, pray without ceasing. And everything give thanks, for this is the good will of God and Mashiach Wamadak Yahushua concerning you. So in everything give thanks. You wake up in the morning, hey, all praises to the Most High. Right? You might have just got some food, all praises to the Most High. And you might make it back home safe from work or from camp. Hey, all praises to the Most High. You see the birds, they're chirping. Hey, all praises to the Most High. A brother literally had a testimony of the Most High helping him out in a time of need. Hey, all praises to the Most High. You see the sun out on a beautiful day. Hey, all praises to the Most High. You see a brother repent and come into the truth. Hey, all praises to the Most High. You find that new precept and it just hit home. All praises. It's literally all praises to the Most High, man. In everything. So you want to give thanks in everything. It says, for this is the good will of God and Hamashiach Wamadak Yahushua concerning you through the Spirit. Now, let's go to the book of James. All right. Let's go to the book of James, the first chapter. It's the book of James. Chapter 1 and verse number 13. All right. Let's see what happens if you're not praying fervently. Because anybody could pray. And before we go to that, let's go to 2 Samuel chapter. Let's go to 1 Samuel 12 before we go to James. All right. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 12 and verse number 23. All right. 1 Samuel chapter 12 and 23. And it reads, moreover, as for me, God forbid that I should sin against the Lord and ceasing to pray for you, but I would teach you the good and the right way. So it's a sin if you're not praying for the brothers and sisters. If every time you're praying, you always praying for yourself, you only think about yourself, right? You just always think about you. Guess what? That's off, man. When you're praying, not only do you want to pray and thank the Most High, but you should be praying for your brothers and sisters. Because guess what? If you're not praying for your brothers and sisters, that is a sin. If you're not praying for your wife, that's a sin. Sister, if you're not praying for your husband, that's a sin. If you're not praying for your children, that's a sin. If you're not praying for the brothers that you laboring with, that's a sin. If you're not praying for the sisters in your congregation, that's a sin. If the sister's not praying for the sisters, that's a sin. If the brother's not praying for everybody has to be praying for one another according to the law. Samuel said, God forbid that I should not pray for you. I must pray for you unless I sin against the Most High God. So let's go to James chapter 1. All right. Let's go to the book. Let's go to the book of James chapter 1. All right. It's the book of James chapter 1 and verse number 13. It says, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. So again, like we read in Matthew chapter 26 and 41, the Lord said, pray and watch that ye enter not into temptation. And that's, you have to be praying that you don't enter into temptation. Because if you don't, you're going to enter into temptation. And James is explaining, guess what? When you being tempted, don't say that's the most. A lot of brothers like to say, well, that was the Most High that did that. No, well, hold on. You have to retract that statement. It says what? For God cannot be tempted with evil. So, because the Most High you can't tempt the Most High with evil, with wickedness. Try to have the Most High go off. It says what? Read on. For God cannot be tempted. Shalom. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempted he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. So if you're not praying that you don't enter into temptation always, all the time, anywhere, guess what? You're going to get tempted. You're going to get enticed by your own lust. Whether that's cigarettes, weed, adultery, women, evil concupiscence, pornography, video games, slothfulness, disrespectful to your husband, men beating on or whatever it is, you're going to get enticed. And it says what? Then when lust have conceived, it bringeth forth sin. Because 9 times out of 10, when you get tempted, you're not going to be in, you didn't even pray. So you're not going to be in the spirit. You're not going to be thinking about the precepts. No, we can't do this because Sirach say this, da-da-da-da-da. Or the book of James say this. So guess what? Lust is going to conceive. When lust conceived, it bringeth forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, because once you get enticed, you're going to end up doing that sin. And sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Do not err, my beloved brother. So eventually, if you're not praying fervently through the Spirit, there's only two ways. The Most High is going to get up with you, and he's going to reward you according to your works, and he's going to kill you on a physical level. Or the Most High, this is a fact, he's going to kill you spiritually. Because when you pray, that's like you putting your phone up to that charger. You get that battery charge. You get that charge through the Spirit. So if you're not praying, you're going to spiritually drain out. And eventually, you're going to spiritually die. And if you spiritually die, now you're subjectable to be physically dead through the Spirit. Right? So with that, giving all honor and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem HaMashiach, Womadak Yahushua. We hitting the camp through the Spirit. Most High willing, this video was edifying. Continue to read, pray, fast, and study. Most importantly, beseech the Heavenly Father for his mercy. With that, I'm going to say shalom.